Hey guys, Jaxie here. Welcome back to another video. So I know it's been a long time since I posted. I'm gonna try to be a little bit more regular. I got a new job, so it's been a little hectic, but I thought we'd get back into discussing recovery stuff. So today's video, I would like to discuss whether I think addicts are responsible for their behaviors during active addiction, and kind of what I mean by that. So let's get into it. Okay, so the reason I bring this up is I've noticed lately there's been a lot of discussion as to some of the terminology used in a lot of recovery programs, specifically NA. And I think it's important that we talk about the difference between being responsible for our actions and being able to control them, sort of. So we hear a lot in programs like NA or any other 12-step based program about making amends. Now that comes way later in the steps. It's step 9. And so a lot of people feel that just because somebody who is an addict says, "Hey, I'm sorry I did this to you," that now the addict thinks that like just makes it right. And I thought before we discuss responsibility, I'd kind of get into the idea of what amends means. So amends is not apologizing. Saying I'm sorry is not making amends. Those are two different things. So, for example, let's say that you stole money from your family. Apologizing is saying, "Hey, I'm sorry I stole your money." Making an amends may be paying that money back, not expecting forgiveness. It is very important when addicts make amends that they are doing it because they're trying to make things right, not because they're trying to feel better about themselves. That's not what this is about. It's about making it right. And sometimes an addict cannot make direct amends to the person they hurt. For example, it may cause that person more harm. Maybe that person's not in your life anymore. You know, they want nothing to do with you. Maybe that person isn't alive anymore. Maybe you don't even know who that person was. It was a stranger. So a way to make amends is what they call indirect amends, which is making amends to society as a whole, or doing work in the community, doing other things to try to make right those behaviors. Okay. So that's like the difference between amends and apologizing. And the reason I bring that up is because I think a lot of times there's this misconception that if somebody makes an amends, they're kind of just saying like, "I'm sorry, now you have to forgive me." And that's just not the case. So in regards to accepting responsibility, so I don't think any addict believes they are not responsible for the consequences of their actions. The problem is this is where like there gets the confusion, and I think it's more confusion in language than it is confusion in ideals. So an addict, for my definition of an addict, is somebody who uses when they don't want to use, right? I remember crying my eyes out as I was blowing drugs up my nose because I didn't want to do it anymore and I couldn't stop. And yeah, addiction will make you do things you wouldn't normally do. When your brain is screaming at you that you need that next high, it's almost like you have no self-control. It's the same idea when people drink, right? Your inhibitions are lowered and you may do things that you wouldn't normally do, right? It affects parts of the brain that allow us to think through our actions. Does it make us not responsible? No. No, it doesn't. Just because you may have this compulsion to use, and the only way that you could use was to steal money from somebody to get the next one, that doesn't mean you're not responsible for stealing that money. Yeah, you are. And the thing is I don't really think there's many addicts out there who don't feel responsible or don't feel the need to take responsibility. I think that's more of how people who aren't addicts may look at what the whole, amends process, trying to make things right is. Oftentimes addicts try to make amends like way too early. The fact is at 20 days clean, you can't expect your entire family to think that everything's going to be great and they have nothing to worry about because you're clean now. Like, no, 20 days is not enough to make a difference. It takes time. right? It will take time. Your family needs to see, your loved ones, your friends, they need to see that you're really serious about being clean, that you're actually making that change. Just because you have a few days clean, although for us, it feels like a long time, right? 30 days clean when you've been struggling for years feels huge. And it is huge. It's a really big deal, but it's not long enough in the eyes of family or friends to assume that you're going to be trustworthy and a productive member of society, right? To say, well, I have 30 days clean now, you can trust me with the house key. I have 30 days clean now, I'm not going to steal from you. Nobody's going to be able to feel that. We feel those changes in ourselves as we start to get clean in early recovery, but that's not how our families and friends and loved ones see it. It takes a lot of time for them to see us become better people, to see the changes. They have to see those changes, not by us telling them, but by them witnessing us coming home on time, us showing up to things, showing up to things, not lying. Those are behaviors that take a long time. Look, as addicts, we are good manipulators. We are really, really good at making people believe the things we want them to believe. And our families know that. They know that. They know that we can tell a good story and string them along. And I am sure that most people who are addicts know that their families have wanted to believe that we were doing well over and over and over again. So it's going to take time. But again, the fact is that for most people, simply doing the next right thing, getting clean and doing what you can to be better, it goes a long way in making things right. But it's important that we remember that we are responsible. There's a lot of people who do some terrible things in recovery. Look, there's people who use when their children are around, neglect their children, hurt partners. Addiction can cause people to do some terrible things, and some of those things are unforgivable. And that's something that as addicts, we just have to live with. There are things that we are not going to be able to fix, things that we're not going to be able to make amends and make better. Unfortunately, that's part of what we have to live with. But for the most part, healing does happen, but it takes time. You can't be clean for 30 days and go to court and say, I can get my kids back now. I'm responsible. I won't leave them alone, or whatever it is you may have done. It takes time to be able to show that you're responsible. Show up to the visits that you're scheduled for. Send the money you're supposed to send. Do the things you're supposed to do first. And then, once you're seen as being a responsible, productive member of society who has their stuff together, who's not using anymore, then you'll be in a place where you can try to get your kids back or build those relationships again. The more harm we cause, the more time it will take for those pains to heal. And that's just the reality of it. So I'm interested to hear from you. Have you had to make amends? Have you done things in your addiction that, are that you've had to make amends for, that you've been responsible for? Or do you feel like there's somebody in your life who's using the fact that they're addicted as an excuse to not have to take responsibility? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think down below. And I look forward to hearing from you. Bye, everyone.